Hey guys, this is the AusTechWarrior. I've been looking at creating a YouTube channel for a while now, and after some recent posts on Reddit and a bit of interest, I've decided to make my first video on a specific topic. So this is going to be a bit of a build guide and review for a Hackintosh machine that is, by my understanding, of exceptional value. So, as I said guys, today we're going to be looking at my Hackintosh machine, which I've got on behind me. Essentially, this was a build that I decided to do because I needed Xcode in terms of iOS development. Didn't have a lot of money at the time, and I didn't particularly ever want to spend a lot of money paying Apple for a product which I could get equivalent hardware for a fair bit cheaper. Not to mention that just to get a Mac, even if it was less or more hardware, it was going to be way more expensive than what I wanted to spend. And thought, well, I'll set out to find the cheapest possible system I could, compatible with what was current at the time, which was High Sierra. I went out and purchased a Dell Optiplex, which I've got sitting under the table there. It was the 760 or 780 from memory. It'll be listed on the screen here. Then came Mojave. Being myself, I've always wanted to push the limits of technology, have the latest features, without necessarily spending a fortune, because I'm all about value. Now, Mojave came out and I went, sure, click the install button, hoped, like I always do, that when I just upgrade, it just goes through, same keck, same everything, just runs flawlessly. However, didn't quite do that. It got through the initial install, I went great. Got through the second part, I went great. Got to the last part, and that's where it froze. I ended up hitting a grey screen. The mouse would show for a second. I could move it for just a tiny second, and then it would restart the system. Spent ages trying to play with things, thinking it was just a small issue, and not quite. So, what I ended up doing was a bit of research and found out it was SSE 4.2 support on the CPU. Now, this machine runs a Core 2 Duo E7500 machine, and that is a bit old now. It's not super powerful, but it does, unfortunately, not support SSE 4.2. So at that point, I could have given up, rolled back to High Sierra, and continued using that happily. But being me, I had to push the limits and see if I could find any way of doing it, even though it was a hardware not supported feature. I also saw a number of posts about getting old Macs that can't support Mojave to run it. So I thought, well, if that's possible, surely getting it to run on a Hackintosh should be even easier. And I was right. So, what I did was, as you can see on your screen, jumped into the recovery function of the macOS boot.
So, once you're booted into your recovery drive, you just go Utilities and Terminal. From here, if you've got your USB plugged in, which has the edited file, which is linked below, you can list your root directory and you'll see a volumes section. If you go to volumes, it should list all hard drives connected, including your USB. So that's mine there, the install macOS Mojave. So if we go into there, we'll see all the files that are on the front of the disk. The file we're after is com.apple.telemetry.plugin, so we simply copy recursively the com.apple.telemetry.plugin file into its correct directory, which should be volumes. What I'll do as well is add in a double quote, so that way we know the correct file if there's spaces in the file, rather than having to cancel each space. Otherwise, the directory should be so we want to go to volumes, your install volume. So for my one, it would be High seirra final by text viewer, and then the system drive there, library, user event plugins, com.apple.telemetry.plugin, and we close that off, and that's done. You simply run that command and it copies it in. Now remember, this is only for SSE 4.1 supported processors, so if it doesn't support SSE 4 at all, you're out of luck, and if it does support 4.2, this isn't going to fix similar issues. You're best to find why it's crashing.
Once that happens, the final boot, instead of going to that grey screen, we had success. Came through and it came up with a setup screen, letting me set up my user, networking, or lack of networking because I didn't have the correct keys at that point, and all the other features that I needed to, and from there it was just a bit of tuning. Now the other thing that is, again, a personal preference that I would recommend for a machine like this is my audio wasn't going through perfectly. I did get Voodoo HDA on there, but that sort of annoyed me because the way that that loads, you would hear like a hissing and a humming, and configuring it's not that easy. So I ended up getting a $2 USB to sound card adapter on eBay. It's just a small blue card. I'll put up an image, plug that in, and it was natively supported, so I didn't need to play around with it anymore. No hums, no nothing, but audio plays instantly, which is great. And now I've got a fully functioning system of Mojave. It runs well. I am currently doing some programming on it through my iPhone 7 on the machine, and even with stuff like Xcode development, might not be as snappy as say a new i7 core processor, but it can get the job done. And then here's the best part of it all. This machine cost only $140 Australian. Now, depending where you are, you can figure out what that is in your local currency, but it's about $90 US if that's what you normally compare it to. So, for parts that I didn't go actively looking for a configuration that I didn't spend hours of research on, just the cheapest, quickest parts I could get my hands on as soon as possible to build an OS X machine, I think I did quite well. So the full build, in terms of details, is it's a Optiplex 760 small form factor machine, Core 2 Duo E7500 series, as well as 4 gigabytes of RAM, and your regular hard drive, no fancy SSD or anything like that. And then from there, there's no onboard graphics with the Core 2 Duo, so I went for a cheap GT710 graphics card. Now I know there's been a fair bit of discussion on the page about, well, surely I could have got something a lot better performance and a lot better power for cheaper. Because I paid about $70 Australian for that graphics card. So, yes and no. I didn't want to, personally, spend the time looking for a old graphics card to check compatibility, to see what a good price I could get on it is. I just wanted something I could plug in and go. And for me, I could get a GT710 brand new, not used, full metal support, plug it in, and it just works straight off the bat without any configuration, without NVIDIA web drivers or anything like that. So that was good enough for me because I was going to use my main machine for any main video editing or anything like that. And this was more for development and or worst case, just general usage, internet browsing, see how things look on a Mac, be able to get a feel for it, iMessage, handoff, that sort of stuff. So, if you want, and you go out there and you look for a similar Optiplex or old workstation, and you get a GT710 graphics card, you're good to go. Otherwise, I do recommend, depending on where you are, what's available in your region, look for an old workstation running a Core 2 Duo, do some research, find out what is or isn't compatible. Dell Optiflex 760s and 780s are compatible, just a little bit of tinkering, but they're probably the cheapest machine you're going to find. Where graphics card, that is completely personal preference. If you're willing to go out, spend a little bit more time researching and going for a GTX card of any variety, and work around with NVIDIA WebDrivers, waiting for them to be updated to the correct amount for Mojave systems, well then, by all means do that, because if you're going to try any video or photo editing, having something like that is going to be a lot better than a 710, which is below general onboard graphics systems and really only good for ultra small form factors where there are no onboard systems. Otherwise, that's my build. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. If you're one of the people looking forward to this video on that Reddit forum, I thank you, because you've given me the kick to put out this first Hackintosh video, or my first video on this channel whatsoever. I do look forward to giving you guys some more videos in the future. Let me know what else you want, whether you want just a general cheap system build like my normal PC, if you are into stuff on VMware or something else, phones, anything at all, let me know and I'll be glad to post a video for whatever you guys are after. That's about it, guys. I'll see how the editing goes. I hope to have this out reasonably soon, because I said I'd try to get it done on the weekend. So, stay tuned. This is the AusTechWarrior signing out.